find them. The current trends. I want to talk about, we've begun to talk about this shift from talking about recovery community as a single entity. I'll never forget one of the nights that I was, Ernie Kurtz and I were in deep conversation about what was unfolding nationally here. You know, and I remember Ernie reached a point where we were talking about all these varieties of new groups, and he said, you know, maybe it's time we really stop talking about recovery community and began to talk about communities of recovery. The communities of recovery was more accurately describing what's going on in the ground. And when we use the term recovery community, we're really talking not about a 12-step community, but all of those diverse communities collectively. And that's a kind of shift historically in consciousness. We're getting the cultural and political awakening across religious, spiritual, and secular frameworks. I'm going to describe hundreds of thousands of people marching in the streets this past month, not as AA members or NA members or moderation management members or any other kind of members, but marching as people in recovery. And that, I mean, that shift in consciousness, that we can have people walking side by side, seeing themselves as this larger concept of people in recovery, is without historical precedent. Very, very significant in terms of what we're going to describe that's going to flow out of that. We're beginning to get new recovery support institutions, and we're going to get all kinds of new cultural development. I'm going to describe a few of these very quickly, and then we're going to give you some visual images of some of this. We are beginning to see the diversification of peer-based recovery support societies. We are seeing a well-organized new recovery advocacy movement rise within the United States. Recovery advocates came together in 2001 in St. Paul, Minnesota, and launched this movement, and now basically are organizing grassroots recovery advocacy organizations around the country, with the idea not of competing with recovery mutual aid organizations, but actually trying to create a world in which recovery can flourish. Are you with me? Where the recovery mutual aid groups focus on the personal and family recovery experience. This is really about changing the world, changing policy, changing attitudes, dramatically increasing recovery support resources within communities. And what we're saying out of that in many cases is the tipping point of recovery may rely not just on what your personal assets and liabilities are, but the assets and liabilities of that community. How many times have you seen someone treated and responded well in a treatment institution, only to be sent back to a community or a school or a neighborhood that devoured them within 48 hours?